Shazam!
2020 has been a hell of a year. I'm Max Prime, and the reason why I say that is because let's get right into Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Secret Origin. And I probably have to say that this is probably the best comic book I've read all year. And I see the writers of Scott Snyder, Jeff Johns, artwork from Paul Ordway, Rapamon. Everybody's on this book. Hi-Fi, color, like, beautiful book. So, The Secret Origin. Can you guess what The Secret Origin is? Right off the bat, issue starts off, we see Earth Prime 1984. We see Superboy Prime narrating his past when he was named Clark Kent, explaining like how he was just like Superman until Superman betrayed him. We see him in a comic book store getting bullied. We see him like reading comic books. All these bullies always pick on him until Lori, of course, Lori, the one that Superboy Prime has always been in love with, saves him. They see that Lori was basically the center of his world. He's narrating more about that everything was kind of perfect until 1985, until the end. And of course, 1985 was the year that the Crisis of Infinite Earths had happened. And especially when he got his powers, because in the next couple panels, we see Superboy Prime actually getting the Halloween costume. And actually, when they go to the beach, Superboy Prime jumps up, he sees Halley's Comet and starts to fly. Now, everybody knows that if you've been following Superboy Prime's origin, that's how he got his powers. And his first time he actually ran into Superman. And he actually narrates in his story that if he knew that there were an infinite number of parallel Earths in the multiverse from the comics he read, he just didn't know it was all real. And then that was the last time he's seen Lori, the minute he's seen Superman. He explains that, of course, that Lori dies, his whole entire universe basically gets destroyed, and then he turns into a monster, which leads him to today. And I love the panel that comes up because you see Superboy Prime. He literally says, quote for quote, "They call me Superboy Prime. Some lame Batman wannabes doing what a bunch of other villains have already tried to do for some reason, remake the entire multiverse in their vision. I feel like I've already read this story, but I understand it better. Everything in this universe is turned upside down and jumbled like the greatest and worst hits album. I can't figure out what's going on, and the worst part about it is I don't care anymore." And right there, we see the attitude of Superboy Prime, where he's just like, fuck it. I already seen comic book characters live, comic book characters die. I've read about it in the comic books. There's nothing I can do about it. And in the panel, we see the Superboy Prime, or the Superman, multiple Supermen are discussing what they're going to do. We see Supergirl, Superman, Connor Kent is back, Steel, and Jonathan Kent, Superman's son. And they're all talking could we trust Superboy Prime? What's funny about the panel, we see in the background a bunch of heroes discussing the same thing. They're like, we shouldn't trust this kid either. And there's this one character who has the ability to absorb other characters' powers, and he's just like, I don't want to even mess with it because that kid's poison. And we see Superboy Prime just sitting there in the distance by himself, and you can tell he's just really debating what the hell he should do because it doesn't even freaking matter. And then all of a sudden, Crypto comes up to Superboy, and this is an interesting moment because we see Superboy Prime's like, what the hell, what the hell do you want? The hell, what are you looking at, stupid dog? And if for some reason, because the dog just doesn't budge, it just stares at him in the freaking face, it actually kind of makes Superboy Prime almost just break. He actually has that moment of just happy for a second, because you see how he actually looks at the dog and he said, I remember the first story I read about you. And then all of a sudden, Connor flips out. Connor sees that Superboy Prime is actually petting Crypto. And of course, Superboy Prime plays it off like, no, that's just your stupid, dumb dog coming over here. And then by that time, that's when everything started to break down. All the Batman Who Laughs Superman actually appeared. That's when the battle begins. Because I know, in the issue of Dark Knight's Metal number 6, it ended off where Wonder Woman comes out of the forge with a weapon. But the Supermen were already technically there at the time. So this is happening almost at the same time. We see Superboy Prime, of course, details about the Batman who created the 52 worlds filled with a bunch of other worlds Superman designed to destroy us. And of course, Superboy Prime fights one of these dudes and he completely just lays waste to him. And he noticed something in the distance where he actually just flies off into the multiverse itself, where he passes by all the 52 Earths lined up directly for the Batman Who Laughs. And this is what we've been waiting for, the confrontation between the two mega powers, Superboy Prime versus the Batman Who Laughs. And of course, the Batman Who Laughs basically says, you can't kill me, I can try to kill you. And the battle goes back and forth because Superboy Prime basically says, hey, look, like, you can't kill me either. And the Batman Who Laughs tries to compare that, that they're almost exactly the same. They have the same goals in mind, like the Batman Who Laughs wants darkness and everything, whatever. And Superboy Prime basically explains, like, like, they're completely different because, he tried to do what was right. He said, but for example, the Batman Who Laughs wants to turn everything evil. So we see them battle back and forth in the panel until the point where Superboy Prime and the Batman Who Laughs lands down near the battle scene. And that's when he thinks he's won, and then he feels it, his power. He says, the Earth he saw, with Laurie, his Earth, he could destroy what's left and get back on his own. And that's when Crypto comes back up to Superboy Prime again, and that's when Superboy Prime breaks, and he's just like, "You get out of here, you stupid mud! I said go!" And he almost like he just like has a soft spot for Crypto, which is really really interesting for Superboy Prime's character. Of course, the Batman Who Laughs in the background is like, "You can't destroy me any more than I can destroy you, so let me help you." And that's when Superboy Prime starts to cry, and that's when Batman Who Laughs basically tries to, like, persuade Superboy Prime to join his Superman army. He promises him his own Earth, his multiple, like his Earth where he could be happy. But then Superboy Prime had a choice here. He realizes that if he chooses, to fight with the Batman Who Laughs, he'll get his own Earth, but that Earth will be without Laurie. And that's when Superboy Prime decides to make the ultimate decision, and he attacks the Batman Who Laughs, and he tells Crypto to get out of there. And he said one last time he closes his fists and he lets his dreams go, and he nails the Batman Who Laughs, which completely shatters, like, I guess, like the I don't even understand, like, the construct of the fake world. All I know is that Superboy Prime gets, like, blasted. And of course everybody's like, look at the evil worlds, they're all vanishing. And of course they're like, whoever did this, gave us a fighting chance, and whoever did this is dead. And of course they're like, but who did it? And of course we get that huge panel shot of Superboy Prime dead. That's right, Superboy Prime dies during the fight. And we see Crypto starts barking really sad, and it's just like shocking. But then at that moment, as the panel drops back out, we get that meta moment where we see Clark Kent back in his room again. Of course, Clark Kent of Earth Prime, and he's like, huh? He's like, what's going on? I was fighting, and he's like, that's me. And he looks and he realizes the comic book he's reading is actually The Secret Origin, which means Superboy Prime somehow is back on Earth Prime. Looks like back during 1984, and he's like shocked. He sees Laurie, he's like, you can't be here. And he just realizes that, like, this can't be real. But then he realizes that he's also in a story as well. And of course, as he closed the book because he didn't finish it, he's like, well, just like other comic books, everything is to be continued. So he, instead of finishing the comic book to figure out what the hell's going on, he puts it down, and him and Laurie and Crypto, which somehow is on this Earth, is with Superboy Prime. Of course, the last two panels of the pages is where basically Prime goes outside. Prime goes out in the sun, and he sees this kid walking down the street, and the kid's about to get hit by a car. So of course, Clark runs to go and grab the kid, and then instead of grabbing the kid, he actually picks up the car, meaning that somehow, some way, Superboy Prime is back on Earth Prime, and he has full powers again. And it's the powers have never left. So it's almost like it's like whatever power or force that knocked him back to Earth Prime gave him his powers again at the point in time where it's like literally after it looks like after the point of that night, the Halloween party, where he actually jumped up in the sky and flew up in the sky. So this was interesting. This was, I would call, the redemption of Superboy Prime. Couple key notes to this book. One, we see that during that fight scene, Superboy Prime gets his shield shattered. Remember the anti-monitor armor? I noticed that on his chest he doesn't have the carving. Remember, Superboy Prime, our Prime, has the S carved in his chest. This Prime obviously isn't what I think is the real Superboy Prime, because this might be really the Dark Multiverse version, or like at some point in time, because this guy doesn't even have the S carved in his chest yet. So this might be the Prime if we're gonna go with time travel-ish. I wonder if this was the Prime was supposedly locked in the Source Wall. That's supposedly what he said during this Dark Knight's Metal series. So it's kind of it's kind of weird. So where's his, I mean, maybe that's just like an artist mistake, but then I noticed it again as I zoomed in a couple other panels. I'm like, where is the S carved in his chest? Like, that isn't the same Prime that was in, like, Jeff Johns' Shazam. Like, because we all know the Prime carved a S in his chest when he was trapped, you know, in the Green Lantern's prison at the end of, you know, Infinite Crisis. So which Prime is this? I mean, if it is him, maybe this is an artist mistake. I don't know. Like, but my overall thoughts are like, this is it, everybody. If we wanted to be upset about Prime being the hero again, I mean, was his hero's last stand. And honestly, if this was the last time we were to ever see Superboy Prime in DC Comics, if this was the last time we got to see Prime fight something that was more powerful than him, and he kind of kept his persona going out, because you seen in one of those panels, Connor Kent is like, you'll never be a hero, and Superboy Prime could give two fucks, but he instead went out and fought the Batman Who Laughs, and he went back to Earth Prime, and he kind of almost just redeemed himself. Nobody will ever know. To the hero's eyes, he'll always be, you know, villain number one, but they'll never actually know the deed that he did in order to save everybody, probably, which will aid Wonder Woman in her battle in Dark Knight's Metal number 7. This is just completely crazy. This is like the redemption of Superboy Prime. Really, this is it. This is Superboy Prime redeemed. And that's why the book is titled Secret Origin, because he just literally created a secret origin, probably for the beginnings of a new version of himself. He got to start over. He's back young again. He's like, you know, this is his second chance, I guess, to be a hero, which is very interesting. What are your thoughts on Secret Origin, Dark Knight's Death Metal, the end of Superboy Prime, probably in the new beginnings for Superboy Prime? I got nothing left to say. This was just, leave your comments. Leave the comments in the comments below. I want to know what you thought about this. What do you think about this? I mean, if this was the end, you know, is this good enough for you guys going into the, you know, probably the new rebooted universe, and we probably might not see Prime again? This might be the last time. I'm Max Prime, and I'm out.